Here's some food for thought. Who is God? Seriously though, think about it. Like, what sort of image comes to your mind when I say the word God? What sort of character, what sort of traits come to mind? What sort of adjectives come to your mind? What sort of emotions are welled up inside of you when I say the word God? Who is God? And what is your view of him? Now, this obviously goes without saying, but every individual person has their own particular view of who God is, their own different set of characteristics, their own image of who they think God is. And when you say the word God, in your mind, you might be thinking about X, Y, and Z, but to someone else, you might be talking about A, B, C. So even though you're using the same word, God, you're actually talking about you could potentially be talking about two completely different things. And because of this, it may not necessarily be too wise to just vehemently try to defend God every time you talk about him, because you don't really know what character or what view of God this other person you're talking to has. And so you may be inadvertently defending a God in their mind that you may not actually want to be defending if you knew what their view, what the perspective of God actually was. And so I think that the best way to engage in a discourse about God is actually sitting down and talking about, okay, how do you view God? What is your perspective of him? What is the character that you believe he has? What are some of the attributes? What are some of the adjectives that describe him? What sort of image do you have of him? And really getting down to who God actually is to them, and then presenting who God is to you. And once you've laid out who God is on both sides, then you'll be able to actually talk about God in a more fruitful way. But just blindly defending and fighting for God is kind of foolish, because half the time you probably wouldn't want to defend this particular person's view of God if you actually knew what their view of God actually was. So engage with people, start a conversation. Don't just debate and argue, but actually seek to understand someone's view of God, because that will go millions times better when it comes to talking about God and even religion. So think on these things.